So, has coming from a BSMD program affected my experience in med school? Yes and no. But for the most part, not really. Once you're out of your 3 years of undergrad, you're technically no longer in the program and are just a regular medical student like anybody else, as far as like registrar's definitions go. So you don't really have any special privileges of coming from a BSMD program like scholarships or research opportunities any more than your neighbor that got into medical school the traditional way. To be honest, the only jarring difference you'll immediately notice is age. Like, the average age of my classmates is 23, 24 years old, and here you are coming into med school freshly 21. So people can really pick you out in the crowd just simply because you look young. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. As far as how other people react to you being or coming from a BSMD program, well, that's just honestly a product of how you present yourself. For example, I never really lead with I was in a BSMD program when meeting my classmates or preceptors because, well, I want them to know me for me, not because of a program I did in the past. So when I talk to them and they get a feel for my personality and everything, then they find out that I came from a BSMD program, and then that leads to kind of curiosity, and they start getting interested in the program, they start asking me questions, and so that way I don't feel weird talking about it, you know? But I know there are some people in different cohorts that come into med school with somewhat of a superiority complex, if you will, and kind of treat the BSMD program as their personality, and that kind of turns off some of the other med students and kind of creates a negative connotation. So I guess you could say the few ruin it for the many. But again, because I let people get to know me for me and not because of a program I did in the past, I've never had that problem. And it instead leads to curious conversation and good times meeting people. However, after the first module and just being around my peers a lot more over the past 2 months or so, I can't help but feel sometimes that being a part of a BSMD program has traded experience for expedience. There were plenty of times while I was studying for my finals, as well as multiple times throughout the module, whether it be our case studies or our patient clinical skills experience sessions, where my classmates would know what to do, what drugs to administer, or even what diagnoses to make, simply because they've seen it before. Now, don't get me wrong, I've had hundreds and hundreds of hours clinically, but it's not the same as having a full-time medical assistant job, CRNA job, or even a EMT job. And 90% of my class has gotten to do that simply because they've been on this earth longer than me. And sometimes it feels weird. It's like, dang, I wish I knew what you knew and had the experiences you've had. But at the same time, it's like, I gotta cut myself some slack because, I'm 2 or 3 years younger than you, or you're like 27 and had 4 years in your full-time job ahead of me. So for them, some of the procedures and questions asked on finals, exams, and in clinic are a little less foreign. And it kind of sucks for me, but at the same time, that just means I need to work a little bit harder and take my clinical skills experiences and the experiences that I have had a little bit more seriously. So at the end of the day, was being in a BSMD program worth it? I have always said and will continue to say yes. But once you get to med school, you do have to be prepared for when experience outweighs expedience. And that's okay. Learn what you can from your peers and work harder to fill that gap. But the most important thing to tell yourself, and I'm still telling myself this too till this day, everyone around you is going to become a doctor and is going to become a great doctor. So just take a deep breath, learn what you can from each other, and just enjoy the ride. Baby.